First of all, congratulations on winning Best Actor from the Women's Film Critics Circle. That's a pretty esteemed group of wise journalists.
My mom was very, very, very proud. That was a nice phone call. She takes all the credit, so that's good.
Okay, moms deserve that, I would think. How accurate is this movie in terms of what really happens when soldiers inform the loved ones of military personnel that their son or daughter has died in Iraq or Afghanistan?
In terms of procedure, the script is the script. The Army script is the script. We fudged a little bit where, we've had a lot of practice in the past 8 years to refine this process of notification. They now go with a chaplain with 2 soldiers. And we felt that if we kept everything else accurate, we could focus on the story of these 2 men. But that's the only place where we fudged. We didn't want to make it a three-hander.
Mm-hmm. What I find really interesting about your performance is that you decide to play it quiet. You are, on one hand, a very sympathetic person to the people you're giving the bad news to, the families. But yet, you could play that up. That would have been a choice you could have made as an actor, to really empathize with them, to bond in a little more aggressive way. But you're quiet while being sympathetic. I mean, to talk about your character and why you chose to play him that way.
Gosh, that's so complicated. Well, it's such a beautiful script. It felt that this man was trying to keep everything in check. He had seen a lot of things. He had done a lot of things that men who have witnessed the theater of war don't necessarily go around screaming about it. And he's a young fellow, and we all process trauma differently. But the script suggested that this was someone that was trying to get back to life and wasn't living the. He was trying to get away from the chaos that he saw, the horrors of war. It just felt like somebody who didn't want to make any racket, just get through the day.
So why don't you haul off and punch Woody when he deserves it? I mean, he gets pretty nasty sometimes in your face.
Well, he's my senior officer, and
right.
The movies are fun that way. But Will Montgomery is a soldier, and he knows his place.
But, what's amazing about this movie is the reactions it's getting from actual Oscar voters, from film critics. It's this small-budget little indie movie that seems to have major impact. And I think the reason for it is that you and Woody are the face on screen of this horrible wars, of these 2 horrible wars that are going on. And you're not just the face of it, you're the face at the door when people, get the worst news of all. And I think it's in a surprising way not been dramatized in the past to this extent in a movie. But it's interesting the way that Oren chose to split it up with a sympathetic person and a tough guy like Woody.
It's a story that I knew very little about myself, a world that I knew very little. We've all experienced it. What I connected to most deeply was that it didn't feel that it was trying to push a political perspective. We could, at its very root, take the military out of the picture, in the sense that we all go through this. We all get notified. We all notify others of the loss of a loved one. And it doesn't provide answers, and it doesn't suggest to claim some moral high ground other than the simple hope that we can get back to life again. And we can make friendships when we've lost the thing that we care most about in life. And to me, that's what makes this picture unique, beyond it dealing with sadly, a very current issue.
It's not just it is the issue right now, of course. We have in Stockholm this week our president accepting a Nobel Peace Prize while he just days ago okayed further involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan and an extension of the war in Afghanistan. So America has strong conflicting views about this, of course, and here you guys come along with a movie that doesn't show us the death, but it shows us what happens after the death. And that's what's interesting, is that all these other war movies show us the carnage going on over there, and you guys show us Grim Reaper knocking at the door. And Grim Reaper isn't so grim. I mean, he's not menacing. It's two guys just trying to do their job.
Yeah, the war coming back home. You know, it's not just over there.
You're right.
The results affect the friends, you know, your school buddies who go off to war. These are sons and daughters, husbands and wives, and they have a family unit, a web of relationships that affect our entire society. It's a small culture, a shrinking culture, it being one of enlistment rather than the draft. But the results are not just these papers, these newspaper numbers, these chilly statistics. These are human beings, and they're not invincible. They're kids, you know. They're being sent to war, and regardless of one's perspective, our culture doesn't want to address that. We only recently showed coffins for the first time in a very, very long time. Well, certainly since the Bush administration. We just want to talk about the heroics and fly the flag, but nobody wants to talk about the returning soldier or the death. What does death mean? How does it affect your small village, your city, your town, your community?
Have you experienced reactions from people who have lived this experience themselves? People come up to you in the aftermath of this movie being out there in the marketplace?
Yeah, I'd say that's been the most rewarding experience about this picture is the soldiers that we've spoken to and those who've had the, and it is considered an honor to do casualty notification. It's the death brigade is considered the most difficult and the most honorable. But speaking to those that have been involved in this harrowing job, they just said thank you in a way, saying, you know, most war films don't represent us as people, and you represented us as people, and people forget that. They think that we're superheroes, and God willing, we'll survive anything, but at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we have families, and that's greatly overlooked in the dialogue of what it means to serve. So that's been an incredible feeling.
Wow.